ET testing for printed circuit board fabrication. As technology advances, so does the complexity of multilayer printed circuit boards. To ensure that these boards are functioning correctly, it is essential to conduct effective electrical testing during the manufacturing process. Here, we will discuss the importance of electrical testing in multilayer PCB manufacturing. We will also overview the different types of electrical tests which are applicable, and explain how to ensure that the practice of these tests is effective. By following the right guidelines, you can ensure that your multilayer PCBs are manufactured according to the highest standards of quality and reliability. So, testing allows manufacturers to ensure the quality of their products and that they meet the customer's requirements. The importance of electrical testing. The electrical testing of multilayer printed circuit boards is a critical step in the manufacturing process. It ensures that the components on the board are functioning properly and that the board can support the expected load and environment. Proper electrical testing helps identify any defects or performance issues in the PCB before it goes into use. Electrical testing is an essential part of ensuring the quality and reliability of a PC board. It is also a crucial factor in meeting safety and regulatory standards, as it helps to detect any potential problems that could lead to product failure or safety issues. Remember that electrical testing does not replace physical inspection. However, it is still an important tool for identifying hidden defects that would be difficult to detect by a visual inspection. In other words, electrical testing is an essential step for a PCB manufacturer as it helps to ensure the safety, reliability, and performance of the product. The different types of electrical tests. When it comes to electrical testing in multilayer PCB manufacturing, you would see several different types of tests. These tests can range from basic electrical parameters such as voltage, current, and resistance, to more complex tests such as signal integrity and thermal imaging. Let's take a look at some of the most common electrical tests for PCBs. A visual inspection, electrical continuity, solder joint integrity, in-circuit test, flying probe test, boundary scan test, continuity test, insulation resistance test, open circuit voltage test, functional test. Visual inspection is an initial step in electrical testing that involves a visual examination of the PCBs to detect any defects in the components. Electrical continuity tests check to make sure that the connections between the components are intact and the power is flowing properly through the board. The tool for this test is often an ohmmeter. The solder joint integrity tests ensure that all the solder connections are properly soldered and functioning correctly. The in-circuit test checks for any short circuits, broken connections, or other defects in the circuit design. The flying probe test verifies that all the pins are connected properly. The boundary scan test checks for any problems in the data path signals. The continuity test measures the resistance of a circuit by sending a small electric current through it. If the resistance is too high or too low, then it indicates an issue with the circuit. Engineers conduct this test to make sure that all the traces, components, and vias on a printed circuit board are properly connected. The insulation resistance test checks for any potential problems with insulation between the conductive paths on the board. It does this by measuring the amount of resistance between different parts of a circuit. If the resistance is too high, then it could indicate a problem with the insulation on the board. The open circuit voltage test checks for any potential problems with short circuits and opens on a board. It does this by measuring the amount of voltage between 2 points on a circuit. If the voltage is too high or too low, then it could indicate a problem with the circuitry on the board. The functional test checks that the board is functioning properly by sending various signals through it and verifying that they are working correctly. This test can also be used to verify that all components on the board are connected and functioning properly. Overall, these different types of tests help ensure that the multilayer PCBs meet the desired performance specifications and will function properly. Testing is essential to detect any issues before they become major problems down the line. Remember that each type of test has its unique purpose, so you must conduct them all to gain the full scope of results. After each type of test has been conducted, the results should then be compared against the customer's requirements and expectations. If any discrepancies are found, further investigation should be conducted to determine the root cause of the issue. Once all tests have been completed, engineers should take corrective actions if necessary. They should thoroughly document any changes and provide them to the customer for full transparency over the production process. It is also essential to have periodic retesting throughout the product's life to make sure that performance remains consistent over time. By taking all of these steps, manufacturers can ensure that their products meet customer standards and provide a reliable operation over time. Factors to consider when conducting electrical testing. Electrical testing is a critical part of multilayer PCB manufacturing and one of the most important steps to ensure that the finished product will perform correctly. When performing electrical testing, you must consider several key factors, such as 1. You must consider the expected environment and the use case of the PCB. You may require different tests, depending on the intended application. For example, if the PCB application is for a high-temperature environment, it should be tested for high-temperature performance. 2. You should consider the capabilities of your testing equipment. Different tests may require different types of equipment. If you don't have the right type of equipment, it's important to acquire the necessary testing tools to ensure accurate results. 3. You must also consider the layout and connections of the PCB. When conducting tests, it's important to make sure that all the components are connected properly and that no loose connections or other issues exist. 4. While performing the electrical tests, you must consider the desired level of accuracy and precision. The more precise and accurate the test results, the better you can ensure that the PCB will perform correctly in a particular application. Tips for conducting effective electrical testing. Start with the basics. Before conducting the electrical testing, you must start with the basics. Make sure your multilayer PCB design is sound and that all the components are correctly placed. This is critical for ensuring accurate results. Check for short circuits. Short circuits can be disastrous for multilayer PCBs, so you must check for them during electrical testing. Look for any evidence of heat damage or discoloration on the board, as these are signs that short circuit may be present. Use an oscilloscope. Using an oscilloscope is a great way to detect any issues with your multilayer PCB design. This tool can show you the exact path of electrical current and pinpoint any problems in the board's circuitry. Inspect the components. During electrical testing, you should also inspect each component on the board to ensure a secure and precise connection. Look for signs of physical damage, such as bent pins or broken solder joints. Test each layer separately. When performing electrical testing, you must test each layer of the PCB separately. This will help you to identify any problems on a specific layer, rather than having to go through the entire board again. Look for potential issues. Finally, keep an eye out for any potential issues that could arise during testing. Be aware of any changes in the voltage or current that could indicate a problem with your design. By following these tips, you can ensure that you are conducting effective electrical testing in multilayer PCB manufacturing and get accurate results every time. Final thoughts: electrical testing is an important part of the multilayer printed circuit board manufacturing process. When it comes to electrical testing of multilayer PCB, several different tests should be conducted to ensure that the board is functioning properly. These tests involve different tools and equipment. Depending on the nature of the PCB application and the type of the test. When performing electrical testing, you must consider several key factors as described above. In the above section, we discussed the basics of electrical testing in multilayer PCB manufacturing, including the types of tests to use, how to set up an effective testing process, and tips for successful testing. Now, you should have a better understanding of how to conduct effective electrical testing in multilayer PCB manufacturing. By performing various types of electrical tests on your multilayer PCBs, you can ensure that they are functioning properly and are ready for assembly and use. Would like to know more about the electrical testing or PCB assembly? Email us at sales@nconline.com. That's sales@nconline.com.